right? Everybody's got a big thing on housing right now. The VRBO, we saw was a big thing in the last election cycle, okay? We have all sorts of things that go and take into consideration here, considering cost of living, availability of housing, and things of that nature, without having a specific question for you guys, considering I know you've been thinking about it. If you could give us an idea of what it is that you're gonna do, something new, hopefully, because we've been talking about it for at least 2 decades. So something new, creative, that you guys have got, if we can get anything from you guys, and feel free to just take the mic and run with it, right? I'm not gonna necessarily cut anybody off, but again, let's please try to stay concise.
Okay, I'm a person of action.
Just get out.
Does it work? I can talk. I am a person of action, and I have done a development of tiny houses. My husband and I personally bought a piece of land in San Juan, in the town of Friday Harbor, which was multi-family zoning. And we brought in 5 little cottages. They're park model homes. They look like 5 little tiny cottages, put them on foundations. I personally dealt with the excavators and the plumbers and all the people to put it together. And of course I did the permitting. And we have that now, and it's 5 cottages, over 55 only. I learned my lesson with that. And I have affordable housing for these people. And it's a wonderful thing. I've also brought in, we've also done some other developments in the past on the island. But what I want to do is I want to promote the use of more tiny houses on this island. I know what the regulations say, and I want to relax the ADU, the guest house laws, not to have anything to do with vacation rentals, but only to allow people with perhaps 4 acres instead of 5 acres. That's the minimum now. You have to have 5 acres to build a guest house. I believe that in the county, we should have it relaxed to 4 acres and get rid of the lottery system and allow people to put small, 1,000 square foot at the most, ADUs on their property and rent them affordably. I also think that there can be I want to see some relaxation. This is gonna go both ways. On the land bank laws. The land bank has been a good boon for our community, but I think that they can relax their mission to do more for the people of the community, which they haven't been doing. And I have some specific ideas on, there are pieces of land out there that are owned by San Juan County, a couple of them that are owned by the land bank that aren't being used, and I think that perhaps those pieces of land can be sold with the money going towards affordable housing. And probably a good way to use that money would be for subsidies for utilities on properties where people are going to build guest homes that require it to be for affordable housing. And I'm happy to answer all the questions you want about that at any time.
That's great. We might actually do a little open forum question and answer here in just a second. I'm hoping that we can clarify the term affordable when we're moving forward inside of this conversation. Thank you very much. And yes, we will do a little bit of back and forth here once we get a chance here.
So I'll start by addressing the term affordable housing. There's affordable housing that you, I, and everybody in this room deems affordable, and that doesn't necessarily jive with regulations and laws that identify affordable housing, which are up to a percentage of the state median income or the county median income. And so you talk about, and it's always percentages, it's 80%. I believe the county housing rate goes to 125% for affordable housing use. But anybody who's buying real estate in San Juan County knows that affordability is a very, very dynamic abstraction. Because even if you wanted something affordable, is it available out there in the world? And it's not. Stephanie talked about ADU restrictions, and the primary restrictions on ADUs in San Juan County, accessory dwelling units, we were told not to use acronyms at one of the previous forums. accessory dwelling units, that was the result of a lawsuit about
2007.
2007, there you go.
28 years.
Thanks a lot.
I defer to Terry and Stephanie for all things about the ADU law. So anyway, that was a lawsuit that was filed against the county, and the county ended up having to settle that, and the result of that is the current ADU laws. Life has changed, and part of enacting a good code and having a good code that works is you have to constantly review it. You have to go back and look at what is working and what is not, and what has changed in our world and what has not. Now, do I favor opening up ADUs for all? No. Because guess what? We're gonna end up in another lawsuit that's gonna cost the county hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, if we don't really carefully make that change. I do favor the use of ADUs to help provide affordable housing. And honestly, I favor ADUs to provide housing for what I call the missing middle, which is the folks who don't qualify for subsidies, the folks who don't make little enough income to get into some of our lower income housing, but they still need a place to live. And that, I count my children in that list. My children are all working members of our community. They serve in essential services throughout the community. As couples, they make too much money to qualify for subsidies. If I could build an ADU on my property, which I'm not allowed to because of the restrictions Stephanie mentioned, I would do that. And if the county were to incentivize that by giving me some pre-engineered plans that I could build that were already passed through the county building department, and they wanted me to only rent it to a certain income band, I would do that if I could build that. But right now, the rules aren't there for me to do that. That said, ADUs aren't gonna solve our housing problem. It's gonna take about 20 different things. We're gonna have to talk about density in East Center. We're gonna have to talk about changing the clustered housing regulations, because right now, I don't think there's anybody in this room who could put in a rural housing cluster, because none of us meet the qualifications to do so. But boy, would I like us to be able to talk about that, bring in other organizations who might be willing to do some of those rural clusters. So we have to hit this thing in about 20 different ways. And it isn't gonna be the first thing that happens when I'm in office, because it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take the entirety of a 4-year term to get through that. And that's what I'm hunkering down for.
Great, thank you. A very interesting question. ADUs are obviously something that I've agreed with. A couple of things that I would love to do with the ADU part. First of all, you could be, I would say, 2-acre parcels, more than 100 feet from the main house, different septic, different water system, which is very similar to someone who has a shed, or a workshop. You can already do that. And the housing percentage number, if it's affordable, is $115,000 is what it's a number, and I helped pass that when I was in council. Historically too, I've already been doing affordable housing work for a long time. The county sold a piece of property for like $1 to a Lopez nonprofit who built 6 housing units there. The county helped come up with $3+ million for April's Grove. I was part of that. I helped draft the REIT here, that's the 0.5 REIT that attaches for everything that's sold in association with the land bank REIT. So there's already things there, and also I was on the Opportunity Council, which is a regional board, and we purchased an apartment in Friday Harbor to keep it permanently affordable. So that's the stuff that I've already done. There's a lot of other things that we can do in the first year pretty quickly. How about we make affordable housing units a priority for permit approval? It goes to the top of the list. If the county really believes in this, then let's do it. Let's work with the town to do the same thing. As Justin said, it's like an onion. You peel layer back, and there's a bunch of other options. I want to go. We have a really great housing element in the comprehensive plan that hasn't been executed. Not one thing has been executed there. How about we go through that policy that's already set and executed? There's a lot of really good things that talk about densities in the urban growth areas. Some of the ADUs. How about we make tiny homes legal? How about we let RV parks or tiny home parks happen again? There's a great way to add a lot of housing in a really short period of time. I agree with the permitted. Let's get 10 or 15 permitted plans. May they be tiny homes or 1 or 2 or 3 bedroom houses that you just walk in and do it. And there's a great guy who runs the housing department here for the Board of Health, Ryan Page, local Orcas guy. He's amazing. I'd like to have an ombudsman in the county that their job is to shepherd every permit through the permit process to get them out quickly. So there's many other things that we can do. It's also an aggregation of money, so we can help different levels. I think Opal and the Land Trust do an amazing job here, and they cover a section of the community. There's also a section of the community that can't qualify for an Opal house, but maybe doesn't have enough money to get a loan. So we have this thing called first-time homebuyer loans that the county's been doing, and I'd like to quadruple the funding out of the REIT that we have to allow first-time homebuyers to get loans for septic, for utility infrastructure, and to purchase the house, or at least have the down payment. And I'd also like that to be able to go to buy blank land. It's almost impossible for a young person who wants to have a tiny home, who doesn't have a place to put it, to get a loan without having an infrastructure piece on it. So there's so many more things we can talk about it, but I think we can hit the ground running and make some serious change in our code, and then just follow up with what's already in the code that isn't being followed or isn't being acted on. Thank you.